Hey, welcome to Living Ardently. I'm your host, Adrian Giraldi, and I'm with a special guest, my fiancée.
Hi, I'm Sarah Beasley.
Hi, y'all.
This is my third time introducing
This
myself.
is the third time of her trying to introduce herself, and it's hilarious. So we have we have some news for you guys that we want to share with you, and we're going to talk about, it's Valentine's Day. We're actually recording this on Valentine's Day night, and hopefully it releases tomorrow morning, Monday. You get to hear this awesome stuff. So anyway, we got a great episode for you guys. Hope you listen. Hope you enjoy. But let's get into it. Let's go. So like I said, we have some really big news to share with you guys. And if you don't follow us on social media, if you do follow us on social media on Living Ardently, you might already know the big news. But if you don't, and maybe you missed it, make sure you're following us, first of all, if you don't. But if you missed it, here's the news. Are you ready to share? You want to share? I'll share.
You can do it.
So, I've been working at a parish called St. Matthew Catholic Church over here in the Orlando Diocese for 3.5 years now. And I officially am stepping down from my position as the youth minister of the parish, sadly. Today was my last weekend. It's, Valentine's Day. And like I said, I've been there for 3.5 years. But again, this was my last weekend there, and I had to do like a goodbye at every mass, like a little goodbye speech at the end of every mass before they dismissed it. And I was just like, the first one was so hard. And then eventually they got easier. But it was really tough because there's some, a lot of the growth that I experienced in the past like 3.5 years is directly because of that job. And it was tough because it's also tough because like my last year of youth ministry was not normal, like at all. So as tough as it was really great to see some people and get the best wishes and prayers, and people really wanted to invite us to do things before we leave. But want to tell them where we're going next?
Okay.
You don't have to tell them the job, just where we're going.
Okay.
What state we're moving to, Sarah?
Oh, the state?
Yeah.
Indiana.
So
of all places. we never thought, right?
I know. It's more specifically in Indiana. It's going to be in South Bend at the University of Notre Dame with the ministry called the Grotto Network. If you're not familiar with the Grotto Network, they're an amazing ministry that is based out of Notre Dame, and the primary reach is to fallen away Catholics. And they're just like, it's just a really great organization. I'm really excited to be part of it. I'm going to be their social media program manager. And it's a whole new journey. So I thought I was going to be in youth ministry my entire life. So now that I'm not, it's kind of intimidating, but also really exciting. And, just all the nerves and all the excitement, all just meshing together. This is like a week out from now. No, less than a week from now, we'll be in Indiana.
Yeah, we're going to visit for a weekend.
Yeah, and it's
like
exciting.
Like, I've never been to Notre Dame. Have you?
Yeah, no, I've never been. I refuse to even look at photos. Like, I haven't looked up any like parts of the campus. I just want to be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen much from the campus either.
Yeah, so everyone keeps on talking about how much of a beautiful campus it is, but I really haven't done much research. So it'll be a blind reveal to both of us. That's exciting.
Yeah. I have to get warmer clothes for sure.
Yeah, a little
get
bit.
An actual coat.
Yeah, we Florida people don't have anything like
nothing
that would really survive a winter. We can survive some cool weather, but winter, I don't think so. So like I said, I'm really excited about this like new opportunity. I am super sad to like leave the teens that I've been working with for 3.5 years, but seeing how supportive them and their families have been in this process is really giving me a lot of peace about it. I mean, I've already been at peace of the decision and everything like that, but like, the heartbreak I knew was going to be like letting the teens know and their families and the parishioners know. And that's where it was going to get like really hard. But this weekend, like I said, I went to every mass and did a little goodbye like spiel. And there's like teens that would come up to me just like tearing up or crying, and parishioners who were doing the same. But it was also a lot of praise and thanks. So I'm great, like super grateful for my time over there. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of things that I didn't know going into the work field that I now know. And I'm sure still got a lot more to learn when it comes to like the work field. So I'm excited about it. But I guess that's one of the big news. So that means we're leaving Florida. It means it's going to be a whole change of pace. But we're also, if you guys don't know already, we're getting married in April. And so there's a lot of changes happening in our lives. But I guess what we wanted to do today was kind of talk about like how this has been going, what we are looking forward to, how we're processing it, but also offer you some advice for those of you who might be in a similar place in your relationship with your whether your husband, your wife, your fiance, or boyfriend, girlfriend. We wanted to offer some kind of podcast that would kind of show you where we are. Hopefully that might even bear fruit in yours in the future. So we'll see how it goes. We also have some Q&As that were sent in from our Instagram that we'll answer. But yeah, that's kind of what we have planned for today. But I wanted to ask you, Sarah, what are you most excited about when it comes to moving out of Florida?
Okay, so I do not enjoy Florida summers.
Oh yeah,
they're just terrible. I don't
Brutal.
like to be hot. I don't like to necessarily be extremely cold too. So I'm really looking forward to the Indiana summers.
Yeah.
And just kind of a change of scenery. I always think it's exciting to go somewhere new.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm really nervous about it as well, but really excited for like a nicer summer, I think. And then, I mean, it might be fun to experience that cold winter.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I apparently though, a lot of people, I was saying that about the summer as well, but people who came from Indiana or from Indiana keep telling me that it's still humid. But I'm like, there's no way.
It can't be as bad as Florida.
Way. Yeah, there's no
But you know
way.
what? I am saying this with no prior research. I'm just assuming it's that far north. That
Right.
It's got to be better than Florida.
But at the same, I mean, I do remember vaguely going to New Jersey with my family, and it being like over 103 degrees. I'm like, yo, it is hot up here. And it was during the summer, so I was like, maybe...
Well, East Coast can be pretty humid, too.
That's true.
But I've spent summers in Minnesota, and it's just completely different than Florida.
Yeah.
Winters in Minnesota, too, so...
Right.
I
Well,
do have a taste of, like, the real winter.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that it's the case. Winter, I mean, well, for summer, that is.
Yeah.
Winter, I don't know what we're going to do.
That's going to be the biggest adjustment for us.
I was telling some friends, like, I like being cool. I mean,
We're the
borderline
same in
cold.
that, yeah.
Because I don't like to sweat, you know. I like to dress, because if it's cool enough, I can dress up and not break a sweat. But if it's too hot, I can't really dress nice or look cool in a nice outfit that I've, put together. So that's what I like about being cool. But cold is a whole different story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, sometimes I love, like, fall or winter clothing styles, and it's like, you can't hardly wear that in Florida.
Yeah, it's like
or
a
it'll start
flannel,
out,
you start
like,
sweating.
In the winter, it's cold in the morning, and you dress like that, and then it's, like, really hot in the middle of the day.
On your way home.
You're uncomfortable.
Say you're in college, it's, like, really uncomfortable to be walking around, like, in the afternoon after you dressed up so nicely. So it's just I'm excited about that. I guess I'm really excited about fall, like the witnessing the seasons, because that is something that we are super deprived of. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Florida, people outside of Florida. I mean, yeah, in the United States probably, that people like Florida doesn't get a lot of seasonal changes. Like,
our leaves kind of fall at a strange time, but they don't really change the way that they do it in other states.
Oh, no. Jarrell was sending me, like, pictures of videos and pictures of fall when it was happening in 2020, and he was like sending me palettes and stuff like, this is the fall palette. I'm like, bro, this is so cool. So that's what I'm excited
That's something
about.
to look forward to. And then I look forward to, having our first home together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to just transition from where we are to where we're gonna be in like 3 months, because right now, I'm working as a youth minister in Winter Haven, Florida, and then you're working. You live an hour and a half away.
Yeah, and I'm working an hour and a half away from you.
Right.
And that's been tough.
Yeah, and so like we only see each other like maybe, if we're all lucky, at least once a week. And then
weekends.
Yeah, weekends. But then it's gonna go from once a week to like every day.
24/7.
24/7, and then we're going into like a whole different state with
only us. We don't know any. Well, you know some people with your new job.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, the staff there seems really great. From like their mission is really cool. If you really haven't checked out Grotto Network, please join us on the new journey that we're going to be embarking on. I'll be embarking on with the Grotto Network. But it's really great. They have a lot of great resources. So if you haven't checked it out, go do so, and follow the Instagram account. That's where primarily their content is posted and uploaded and shared. So it'll be really cool because it's going to be a change of pace. It's going to be a lot of learning. But like I said, it's going to be a very welcome change, I think, to where we are. And I'm just glad that we get to do it as a couple, Like, I feel like it would have been really hard if I had to go there first.
Yeah, when we were first discerning this, that was the toughest question, thinking that you might go before we get married. Yeah. And that was really hard. And we both thought the same thing, like, well, if you go, I'm going to go too. Yeah. We kind of didn't really want one of us to go. And it was going to be really the other.
Yeah, it was going to be really hard to try to, if we did go and we both went, to prep for a wedding out of state that we're not, I guess it's common for some people, but
it's possible, but it's so much harder.
Yeah. So, that's just a lot of what the process has been, and we've been working a lot through that, and so it's been really hard to keep up with the not the podcast in general, but just like making sure that I'm still doing weekly podcasts. This week was just kind of fell through, and then we came up with the idea of doing a podcast together, which we did once, and people have been asking on and off about doing more episodes with Sarah. So I was like, well, I guess I have to make sure to do that eventually.
I didn't know that there was there's a demand for it.
I mean, there was a couple people who would say, like, where's more episodes of Fiancée? And you are sought after from the listeners. And I mean, I think people love to hear like relationship stuff from people who are going through
I think
things.
that's what I like to hear about too.
Yeah, so it's really great. I mean, I love talking when I meet people because of the podcast, and I get to hear a little bit of their love stories or whatever. It's like a little piece of like they're trusting me with that and like to tell me their story, and I just love that stuff. I'm a sucker for a good
good romance.
A good romance. I just found out, like, a friend of mine today was like sharing some like big news that she's dating somebody, and I ended up knowing that person, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like freaking out. And my roommate saw me how giddy I was. He's like, dude, you really, like, he just saw me smiling at my phone, like replying. He's like, dude, you get really giddy about this stuff. I was like, yeah, man, this is so good to me.
Well, you are like you were, I don't know if you saw it, you were the matchmaker.
Ave matchmaker. But I'm not that anymore. I've failed to I really haven't attempted really here, but
kind of on a sabbatical.
From
matchmaking.
No, people just put like put yourself on this hype, like think that you're a miracle worker, but not that.
Can't work miracles, people.
Can't work miracles, people. I'm sorry. I can only do what I can only
do so much.
Do so much. That's Jesus, not me. Anyway, so I want to offer some kind of our thoughts of the process of what's going on. How were you feeling about like moving to a different state? I mean, I know we talked about like the good things we're excited about, like, but what was something that some of your thought process in like the move, like initially, like were you obviously maybe you're reluctant, or what was your thought process?
I don't think I was ever reluctant, actually. I think the same day you told me about this job opportunity, I kind of came to terms with it being like a very real possibility pretty quickly. Like, I think I remember just driving home from work. Excuse me. The only thing I was really concerned about was you going before we got married, and like me being here, and that was like scaring me actually more than us going together. And and I thought to myself, you know what, if it's something that he's passionate about and that would be like a really good fit for him, like I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Like I have to go. He has to go. We both have to go. So like I really wanted it for you, and the more we found out about it, it was just so like such a good fit for you, and so where your talents and your passions lie. So it's like I'm not gonna shut that down. So I just like I really felt like God's probably calling him there. He's calling us there. Like but it is a little terrifying thinking about leaving family behind, not knowing anybody. But at the same time, there was this like peace. That's what it was, this peaceful feeling. I remember driving home, like this peace about it. Like it was this like kind of scary, kind of exciting, but overall like this peaceful feeling like, okay, we might be doing this and I'm okay with it. Like, even though it's going to be scary, I'm okay with it. Like, and I wasn't expecting to be okay with it like that, like so quickly. It's kind of like now, since I've had time to think about it, I might like make myself nervous if I think about all the different things, but I was very much like, I had that peaceful feeling. So I was like, okay, I think God's will is at work here.
I think that's what got me like pretty open to the idea, is your support about it. Like, you really thought that this was a good position for me, a really good next step up. Not only would the pay would be better, but it was only parishes can only offer so much, right? But also like it was just also a field that I do already with the podcast and enjoy doing. So like your support in that, I think, made the decision to even apply to it like possible.
I was really excited for you because it's like right where your passions lie.
And I really I appreciate that a lot, that you were like supportive regardless how scary the move is. Like it's like a whole different world, a whole different place. We were both leaving family that's in Florida. You more closely because you were with your family, and my family are like still like 2 hours away, but still Florida, still a drive away. Like if I really wanted to, I could drive there right now and come back tomorrow enough for work, but that's 2.5 hours, 5 hours I don't want to drive. But still, the case is, you were super supportive when I first found out about it, that, it was so easy to even like just put myself in the position to apply. So I similarly had those nervous thoughts and process, like, man, like literally in 3 months, like maybe even less. No, it's February, March, April, May. In 3 months, our lives will be completely different. I said that earlier, but it's just that thought process, like how fast 3 months can change things is incredible. But we have there's also that peace that you mentioned that is also like, it just kind of seems like, the Lord is opening doors in my life, and he's kind of always been super obvious with the way he works in my life in the past, that I knew that I had to at least consider going and applying for the job. And so, the Lord worked through that openness and got me to getting the position, which took it didn't take a long time. It didn't feel like it was like dragging on. It felt like it went by pretty fast. But then I realized when it actually first initially happened was like when I first was made aware of the position was in November.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was
wow. It doesn't feel like it's been that much time.
Yeah, but November, December, January, February. Well, I guess it's only 3 months, but still, that's still a pretty good amount of time.
At the same time, at the same time, when I was feeling peace about it, I also just kind of felt this conviction, like, well, I have to be willing to make a move like this if I have to, or sacrifice, if you want to call it that. It's not really a sacrifice. If I want to get married.
For some, it might be.
Yeah.
For some people.
Well, I don't want it to sound like I'm sacrificing. Well, I'm not really sure what the word is to use right now, but it might not be doable for everyone to move away from friends and family. I'm not saying like you have to be willing to leave everybody behind if you get married. I'm just saying, personally, I felt that I needed to be able to I guess sacrifice, for lack of a better word, and do this if I was getting married. Yeah, I have to be willing to be open to that at least. Yeah,
I think that's important. I think that's important for, all relationships, whether, marriage, if, like your husband and wife, fiancés or boyfriend, girlfriend, like the key of like sacrificial love is what we know as Catholics, as Christians, that there's a dying to self that is necessary to love the other. Often doesn't mean like always give up, like if you were to get a job at somewhere, like at a different state that was, paying less than, it wouldn't make sense, right? To leave my job to go to that state, like obviously that's irresponsible decision making at that point. But like, when it comes to sacrifice, it means a lot more than just decision making. There's decision making, there's discernment within the relationship that needs to happen. And what's really great about the process that has happened is that it was always like in my mind through this process is always including you now. It was it couldn't be just me who I was thinking about. So when I even initially thought, I was like, oh no, what is Sarah going to say about this? And so to hear that you were supportive and that you were excited even, it made sense, like to apply.
Yeah, throughout the whole process, like it was you were including me, and it was like a decision we were making together. So it's like that's good preparation for your married life. And also, I was always going to be leaving my job that I have now, and I'm coming to live here. So it wasn't like I was sacrificing, like I had to leave my job because of this. That was always the plan. So, but that's something that, it's still a mystery for me in the future. Right. I don't have a job yet in Indiana, but we'll see.
Right, and I think it's good. Yeah. Like we're at the same time of this is happening, we're doing like a lot of marriage prep and, prepping for our, like wedding in general, just like whether it be like caterers and DJs.
Everything's happening
right now.
Happening
at the same time. So it gets a little like jumbled up in what I have time for and what I don't have time for. But I know, but the whole entire process has been super easy for like the decision making when it came to the job. I think that was one of the easiest decisions, though it was hard to make it. Because it meant I was leaving my parish. It meant I was leaving the place that I called home for 3.5 years. The place that, I learned a lot from. So like, I'm grateful for my time there, but it took me a couple. That was like the hardest part, just to think. The hardest like that because you were supportive, that was the hardest part of the decision, was leaving the parish, you know.
Right.
Leaving the teens, leaving everything there. But, you know, obviously through social media, because of social media and technology today, my ministry with the families there, the teens there, the relationships that I formed there don't have to stop, you know, when I physically leave the church. So praise God, I get to continue to lead my couple of the small groups that I've been leading since the beginning of the year, or last year rather. And I'm excited about that because there's some good kids I got in my small group, and I really didn't want to have to leave that. So at least at the end of the year, I'll be working with them until they're able to do meetings in person, because we've been doing a lot of Zoom online meetings. That's all we've been doing. So I'm able to stay involved because of that. And then when they start meeting in person is when I'll probably phase out. But yeah, so...
Yeah, same for me, because I'm leading two of them.
Yeah.
Or leading one and then I'm co-leading the other.
Right.
But being in Indiana, they have to step back from that if they go back to in person.
Right. And then it's our responsibility as a couple to get involved in the parish that we are actually going to attend and register at too. So that's important to think about as well. But I think, it would be helpful for those who are listening that might be going through similar changes in lifestyle, we're sharing our experience and what's been helpful for us. We kind of just naturally hear. But I think what will also be helpful for those of the people who are listening that might be maybe whether it's a rough spell or not, or if it's just like a tough time through getting married. Because we were talking to one of my roommates who had a friend whose marriage was really rough at the beginning, and they didn't live after they got married, didn't even live in the same house for
the same state
even for how many months or years?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember the
recall,
time frame.
But
for a good amount of
time.
time.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine how that would work out.
Yeah, because it was because both of their jobs
situation.
Both of their jobs were very dependent on certain things, and they were both very important jobs, and so they couldn't just roles in their jobs, so they couldn't just leave, and so there's a lot of things that led to that. Obviously, it's not their by choice, but it was more so they had to do it, and so I understand that. This whole sacrificing and leaving your job and stuff is not necessarily easy for everyone, but maybe just in general, maybe it's not even specific to a lot of people, right? So maybe we can offer some advice to those couples who might be, or those who might even have a discerning relationship or marriage or whatever. What is the most important thing in a relationship for them to even be able to discern correctly, whatever the big decision. So they have a big decision, or if they're discerning getting into a relationship or getting engaged, or getting, what.
That's a big question.
I know.
Wait, so you're asking what is the most important thing?
What is one of the few? I mean, there's probably a few things that are really important in this. But what is one of the few things?
As far as trying to make decisions as a couple,
yeah.
Well, I mean, the best thing is you have to be honest with each other, honest with your feelings. If you're not at peace with it, you're not at peace with it.
Right.
Trust each other.
Right.
And then ultimately be supportive.
Right.
But it can't be there's one person in the relationship giving up everything and only supporting the other one while the other one doesn't. It has to be a mutual thing.
Right.
It has to be a thing. Of course, there's sacrifices and compromises, but at the end of the day, it has to be a mutual thing where they're both at peace with it, or else it's just there's gonna be a lot of tension and a lot of heartache if one of them's not at peace with something.
Right.
So I've seen that where things like a move or some other kind of decision like that, and the couple may already be married, and where the one is just miserable for that whole period of time because that's not really what they wanted to do.
Right.
Unfortunately. Did that answer
Yeah,
the question?
and I want to add on.
Yeah.
I think I agree with every single thing that you said, especially because like, there are moments where sacrificing and only focusing on one person's career if like their career is like literally going to make you all as quote unquote successful. And then success is not the only thing that's important in life, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
but like if it's something that's worth investing in, like say your job was going to get you to a point, like if you invested in your job and moved, you would be making six figures. Sarah, I'm leaving my job to pursue your six-figure job. Like I don't care. Like fine, let's do it. As terrifying as and hard it would be, like I would make the sacrifice. But like, but then there's like, like I said earlier, it's all very dependent on your different situations, right? Your different decisions, the different things that you're discerning. Obviously, I want to reiterate the trust between each other. I think that if your relationship's not built in trust in the Lord, but also in trust in one another, I don't know if your relationship will get actually that far. It's very common in this world where people, like, especially in today's society, that you only trust your close circle of friends. And like, I think you need to be able to trust, like, I'm of the opinion you should be able to trust everybody. Obviously that's not the case. But at the very least, if you're in a relationship with your significant other or whoever it is, you have to be able to trust them. And I think that's what got us to the point of even like, if I didn't trust you, maybe, maybe I applied for the job without telling you at first.
Yeah, which
like,
would be very bizarre for you to do that.
Or not even telling you and then like making the decision on my own. Because I'd be afraid of you. Like maybe I was excited about it and I didn't want you to tell me that I didn't want that you didn't want me to leave Florida, like, and I thought as a deterrent, so I didn't trust you, and I didn't tell you.
So like this is all like theoretical because you wouldn't actually we wouldn't actually do that. But if you're in a relationship where things like that are happening, well, that would definitely show that you were not ready for marriage if you were secretly like doing something like that on your own and then wanting to tell me later or out of fear of like what I would say, then maybe we're not right for each other. Maybe we shouldn't be getting married then if we can't make a big decision like that.
Well, maybe there just needs to be a discussion as to why I don't trust you if that was like the case, and so maybe I don't know what big decisions you all have to be making right now, but I think as Sarah said, as one of them, I think the most important one is the trust in one another. If you're not able to do that, I think there needs to be some serious conversation that needs to happen, one-on-one, knee to knee. The knee to knee thing is like
knee to knee, eye to eye.
Knee to knee, eye to eye, where you face each other sitting down, and you put your knees together, and you talk. And this is kind of, if you're watching on YouTube, we're kind of somewhat demonstrating it, but
our chairs are too close. But
our chairs are too close.
It's just like looking into each other's eyes. Yeah,
and just being intentional about your conversation and understanding the other person's like concerns and hearing the other person out and not predisposing like like things like you're not assuming right. So I think in particular that is one of the most important when it comes to like decision making, discerning, is that trust in one another. And if you're not able to do that, again, the conversation needs to happen. Yeah, if you're discerning marriage or if you're engaged, like it's got to be like a team effort. You got to be on the same team. Right. And I think another thing to kind of add on to that, especially for those of you who are, maybe dating and trying to figure out if this person, because again, it's Valentine's Day. People are going on dates, obviously, and maybe some of you might be listening. You've recently just broken up with someone. Maybe you're discerning a relationship with another, or maybe you're about to get engaged. Who knows where you are? But I think I just want to specifically right now talk to those of you who are discerning a relationship together in general. I think that what Sarah said about just being honest with one another is one of the better parts for that. I mean, obviously trust, but like, you should be able to trust the person that you want to get into a relationship, right? That's understood at this point, but like that also includes being honest with one another and being vulnerable with one another. And if you don't trust this person to a point where you can be vulnerable and honest, I would kind of reconsider getting to that point of.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to be vulnerable. Sometimes it's hard to be honest about certain things.
Yeah.
That makes sense,
And I understand that, for some people that it's just generally a hard thing to do. And I'm not saying that if it's like something that you're struggling with from trauma and you can't trust people, and because of that trauma that you shouldn't be in a relationship. Maybe some might argue that, but I think you can, but you should be actively seeking like help or like trying to figure that out, trying to uncover that, because that is honestly like sharing your heart, sharing, being vulnerable and trusting people is one of the most fundamental things when it comes to relationships. And if you cannot do that, not just your romantic relationships, but all your relationships, I think would suffer.
Yeah, I completely agree. This doesn't mean like you have to, on the third date, tell them your entire, or, the first date, third date, like tell them your entire life story and, all the traumas you've experienced or things like that. Like you don't need to
I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just kidding.
We did talk about a lot of things, but, it was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like a discernment there, like how much to share with people. But, just, I think in the beginning, especially, I don't know if this is, the true for every person or female, but like, I definitely had to fight the urge to just kind of keep walls up and to fight the urge to almost, even though I wanted to be in a relationship with you, almost wanted to like push you away. I kind of used to like, if you self-sabotage, that is actually a form of, you're actually trying to protect yourself. I learned that recently, that's actually a form of self-protection, which is very interesting and which makes a lot of sense. So it's like just trying to fight that urge to do that. And I'm glad I did. It's hard to be vulnerable sometimes, And
I think the other side of that is some people might even be too willing to be vulnerable too much and too soon. And that is like so hard, because I've been labeled before as an oversharer, which I don't mind, and it's just like talking to people.
So
obviously
it comes from a desire of trying to connect with people.
Brene Brown, who talks about vulnerability often, said this: without vulnerability, without boundaries, it's not vulnerability. A lot of people will, social media will go on and in the guise of being vulnerable, overshare. And which is, not to slight anyone about that, if you're guilty of it, but like sometimes people are doing that vulnerability, like in the guise of vulnerability, is really just a seeking or shouting for attention,
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good example or not. Maybe I'll let people, I really actually want feedback on this, but I started watching The Bachelor this season.
Oh, gosh.
And I've never like cared for the show before. I gotta be honest, I just feel like maybe his personality is just not even being displayed on the show. Like, The Bachelor isn't that interesting to me. He seems like a great guy, like good guy. Nothing against him. It's just I don't feel like we even see his personality on the show. It seems like a lot of like repetitive lines, and one of them is about vulnerability. He talks about like how he wants them to be vulnerable with him, but it almost seems like a competition of like who has the most dramatic story at a certain point. Which a lot of these shows are like that. It's like who had the most traumatic childhood, or who had, like. And they're sharing the certain things, and I'm like, this is going out to how many
I can see some
people that watch The Bachelor. Like, it's a huge show.
I can see how that can be destructive.
Yeah, and I mean, also like the way people attack the girls and guys that go on the show, anyways, just normally for whatever reason, and and they can be edited to look bad, or sometimes they act poorly on behavior. Excuse me. They behave poorly on purpose. Obviously, there's some people who do that.
Yeah.
But at first, I was like, "Oh, this is so great that he's talking about vulnerability,"
Yeah.
and then it just seemed to turn into like, kind of like, this just doesn't feel right. Like they barely know him, and they only get a certain amount of time with him each week, and it just seems like this, like they've got to kind of vomit out like all these vulnerable details and very personal stories. I was like,
I can see where I'm like just thinking of how this can be very disruptive for people, where like they need to, like girls will feel like they need to to get into a relationship, to be chosen, to be desired. I have to have some sort of traumatic experience that will make you feel sorry for me and like me. I mean, that can go for every.
Seems like
This could not just females, but even males too. Can fall into this like habit. I've seen it with guys. Like I had a traumatizing story. You should date me. Help fix me. Like a relationship's gonna fix their problems, and that's it's incredibly dangerous. And that thought process is like very, very toxic and scary. So if you ever thought of that, like I hope that you're not. But if you do, please like consider seeking some healing somehow, whether it's through therapy or something. So, it's healing before. Sometimes healing before getting into a relationship is necessary, right? I think most times. Anyway, I think that's a good. We're gonna do more episodes where we're together, but we're gonna take a break right here, and we're gonna come back. Like I said, this is not the end of like Adrian and Sarah episodes. Hopefully it goes. I know there's like a good handful of you that really desire to have Sarah back on the podcast and hear more about our relationship outside of just her testimony and our engagement. So we'll do that, and then when we get married, I'll be like, we can do this whenever we want. Maybe we'll just have an argument, turn the mic on, and see how it goes. I'm just joking. But yeah, so we'll come back.
Whose side are you on? Vote now.
Right, swipe up. Vote. Anyway, we're gonna come back with some Q&A questions that were sent in by you guys on our Instagram story. So we'll be right back. Cheers, we're back. Look at our stickers.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
I don't have stickers.
Stickers of us, and then our bitmojis or emojis or memojis, whatever they're called.
That was from our Save the Dates.
From our
which
Save the
were
Dates.
A huge hit. Thanks to his great ideas.
Thanks. I'll be here all day. So we are back with some more, again, with my fiancée, Sarah, soon to be wife in April. Whoop, whoop. We're excited. So we have some questions that you guys sent in from our Instagram, my Living Ardently's Instagram story. And so we're going to answer some of them and see how it goes. The first one actually is very reminiscent of our conversation. So what is your process? What's your personal process of discernment for both of you? And let's try to, like, since there's quite a few, let's try to keep them as short as we can, I guess.
Okay. Do you want to go first on this one? Yeah,
I guess I'm assuming we're talking about the process of discernment for, like, marriage. So I guess this even getting, like, not even in our relationship, but just marriage in general, not religious life. Huh? You want to take it that way, or?
I think like how you discerned marriage, and then like how you discerned that I was you're gonna marry. I feel like we did I just combine? Yeah. Okay, why don't we do the just the general discernment?
Yeah, because I feel like we answered that at our first one together.
Yeah.
Like how I knew. Because that definitely comes up.
Okay.
All right, so for me, personal discernment, I always thought that I was just gonna be married. Growing up, I feel like we all do at some point. Even priests who are now priests, kind of probably had that mindset. And I also know like some priests who had that since they were children, right? But for me, I always thought I was going to be married. And long story short, I was dating a girl for 4.5 years in high school to college, and then we broke up, and I was heartbroken, and I had some time to really, like, for the first time in like 4.5 years as an adult, like I was 16 to 21, basically, like I get to discern like religious life seriously, you know. And so I was as heartbroken as I was. I tried to prove myself by like pursuing other ladies, just to say like if I can get a date, then that means I proved myself that I'm worthy. That was like a really rough patch. But then after I got over that and realized, okay, that was dumb. Let's get over that, and let's actually discern. I talked to my pastor back home, who was my spiritual director, and talked to him and told him my process. And, you know, he helped me with not only like financially with my schooling, because that's also around the same time I lost money. I didn't lose money. I didn't have enough money to pay for the next semester. He said, you know, like he gave me some tips about discerning well. A couple of the things he told me to do was he gave me a list of movies to watch and a couple. And I forget exactly where they were. I have it somewhere, I think, still, to watch these certain movies. And then then go a step further and talking to good Catholic couples and good Catholic priests and talk and have the conversations about their discernment process. And then, you know, obviously go seek a vocation awareness weekend at the seminary, which I eventually went to after, like, towards the latter half of my discernment. It was like I think about 6 months that I really was considering, and for a time, like in that 6 months, like I thought I was gonna become a priest, like I was gonna go into religious life. I wanted to be a religious priest, not a 90-day diocesan priest either. Like I wanted to become either a friar or a Benedictine. Oh, not a Benedictine. Dominican. Sorry, Dominican. Okay. For one reason, I don't know. I think it was just habits. I forget what the exact reasons were. I talked to a couple. Those orders were both at Ave, and I had good conversation with those, with a couple of those priests that were in both of those orders, and so I just kind of was like, wow, that's really cool. I like that, you know. And okay, long story short, sorry, I keep on going on. I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at this whole oversharing thing, like I said. But yeah, he told me, he gave me a list of names and then told me to do that. And I was able to do a couple of friends who were married, who were good Catholics and their discernment. And then I did that with a bunch of priests that I knew. And then also with a bunch of seminarians that I got to meet later on. And then I went to a vocation awareness weekend, really discerned and prayed. And this is where I started to feel that call away to it. And during that vocation awareness weekend, I felt this call to want to make my like the name of the Giraldi family, like the weight of, just as much as like Mulhern or like those Irish last names or O'Donnell or O'Connell, you know, like they know like as Catholic names. Like yes. I wanted to try to make, you know, the Giraldi last name like a Catholic last name, you know. Like I wanted to know, like, oh, if it's the Giraldis are Catholic, you know. I don't know. I mean, obviously that's like super big, but like
a Giraldi Catholic dynasty,
right? Yeah, but obviously that's probably like far fetched. But like I guess the idea was really just making my family known, not just to be Filipino Catholics, but to be Catholics. Period. You know, and like true like discern, like to be truly like passionate about our faith as a family. And so I wanted to do that by starting a family, you know, like raising kids in the faith, teaching them the theology that I learned, and the faith that I share and the relationship that I have with the Lord, and really wanted to do it that way. And so that's kind of the process of my discernment. And I know I said to keep it short, and I'm really bad at that.
So long story short, you felt called to have family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine's a little bit more, it's more, I guess, cut and dry. So when I was younger, as strange as this might sound, some people might relate to this, other people might not. but in the kind of circles we ran in, like when I was younger, I thought being like a religious sister or nun was like the coolest thing. Like I actually knew multiple people who were like finishing high school and actually joining orders. There was a Franciscan Poor Clare order that we knew quite a few of them, and we had visited that monastery a few times. So I was used to being around like priests and religious, and most of the saints I heard about, like, were usually religious sisters and stuff. So I thought that was like, I was like, I wanted to be one. Like, and this is when I was like 11, and I used to like draw nuns and stuff. Like, I thought it was the coolest thing. Like, it looked like a really just, because they were so different than what was normal, the average life. It was just this like really special thing, and I felt like you were going to be a saint if you became one. Like that's just a sure path to sainthood. But that kind of just, it wasn't really, that didn't really last. That kind of wore off as the years went on, and once I reached adulthood, like I just really had no calling whatsoever to do that at all. So I didn't really go to like a retreat for it or go to CERN like at a convent or anything. There was completely like no call after I grew up. And there's just always kind of a desire to have a family, essentially. Although I didn't, date for a very, very long time until I met you. So I was at a point where I was just like, I guess I'm just single and I'm content doing that, and yeah. So
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't choose to be religious, or that God didn't call you to be.
Yeah, there was no desire. I just thought it was really neat when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's really funny. I don't want to answer that one.
Some interesting questions here.
Thank you for those of you who sent in questions. I really appreciate it. What's one of the qualities that you absolutely enjoy about the other?
Aww.
I mean, I kind of talked about it earlier in the podcast, but like how supportive you are of where I am, where I want to go. You don't like stop your support if you feel like nervous about something.
And I am a nervous, fearful person. Like, don't think that I'm just like, oh yeah, cool with whatever. I'm a very anxious, fearful person. So
and you're often supportive about like the podcast and things that I do on the side that, like it that means a lot to me, because the support that you give me is like in things that I do. Like, it's not that you don't shy away from telling me when you don't think something's a good idea, because you don't. But like, when you're the way you're supportive about this ministry, this podcast, and the things that we do, and like even just being willing to be a part of the small group leaders of my parish, like that was so great. So that's my favorite quality about you. How about you?
Okay. Oh, this is hard. I'm trying to think of what I've already answered before.
There's like none. There's no qualities.
No. There's so many. Oh gosh. I'm going to go with, you have such, I've said this to you so many times, such a big heart, and that like, I wish, if you guys know Adrian in person, this, I wish people could see how like you are with people, with me, with other people. Like, your heart is just so big, and like you just love me so well, and like you really care about people. Like, so a lot of, okay, I shouldn't be generalizing. There's people who act like they care about people, but they don't actually when push comes to shove. But you really show that you care about people, And it's like there'll be certain situations where I don't even think of it, but you're like, oh, I need to go check on so-and-so. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Like, it's just like you care so much. You're so caring. You have such a big heart. I also say, like, your sense of humor. You make everything so much fun, and he's so funny. He's so much funnier than me guys.
It just means I'm immature. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you seeing that quality of mine, because, first of all, I'm trying to learn how to accept verbal affirmation.
Yeah.
So I want to like just say that thank you for that, because because it's not like for me, like I was always taught to kind of, take care of the next person and take care of my friends and take care of the ones who are close to me. But there was a time in my life where I felt like I didn't want to have people close to me. Like I didn't want to have, or I was too awkward to even have friends like that cared. So like I wanted to I like in middle school particularly, I felt like I was unworthy of friends, and I didn't want anyone to feel that way. So like that's kind of where I feel like I go through the thought process. Like I don't want them to I don't want to be the reason why you feel bad, and so it might be a bad place to operate from, but I think I have a good balance of understanding when to take care of myself and when to take care of my friends, so I appreciate you recognizing that.
Yeah, and you definitely have grown in accepting verbal compliments. So like words of affirmation is my love language, and yeah, he's definitely been some adjustments for Adrian, like getting used to it.
I mean I have to learn how to give it, but I also learn how to receive it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would do is like if you gave me something, I would just like joke about your compliment.
Yeah,
like,
you'd immediately like joke, make a joke in return.
Like one of my favorite things to do,
or you dismiss it.
Like, whatever. Like I would be like, whatever. Like I was like, you'll say like, oh, you look so handsome. I was like, you look so handsome, honey. Like, I just start.
And I was like, what is up with you? Like, why did you do this? And then we just, talked about it honestly, and it's just he's uncomfortable with compliments. But whoops, sorry.
Okay. But I do. But the funny thing is, I also enjoy compliments in things that I work hard on. Mm-hmm. If I work hard at something,
for work well done.
Yeah, like if I am working on this podcast, like if you recognize my podcast and the hard work that I put into it, then I appreciate that. Or the things that I actively been working on to improve myself on, and you recognize it, like what you say about what you just told me, like that means a lot to me, right? And so I feel like I don't know, there's always different ways. Like, but if you tell me I'm handsome and I don't believe in that, then I'm like, that's just part of like.
But you are.
Yeah, thanks. Whatever.
You'd be like, shut up.
Yeah. I was just demonstrating what I would do. But yeah, that's kind of, it's the weird way of me receiving and affirming and stuff like that.
It's just not your preferred love language. So, that's how we all are. It's not our preferred love language.
Okay, so we only have room for one more question, so we're going to answer this one here. This one is, what is the best date you've been on? I'm assuming together. Hopefully It's not from another relationship.
Well,
cut like a knife.
This is going to be awkward. No.
Oh, gosh. So I'll go first. Yeah. I think... Well, I don't know if you would consider this, and you can decide whether or not it counts or not. But like the Houston trip that we did for my cousin's wedding, it's probably one of the best experiences. Yeah. Like it's not. I mean, it wasn't just a date; it was a whole weekend, a whole week. I think really, at my cousin's wedding, Evan, and Rachel. They got married in October, and we flew down. It was our first trip on a flight together. It was like, it was like during COVID too. And so, first flight together, first like time traveling with one another, and then like experiencing a place that we both vaguely know, and so it was just really cool to experience all these things with you and, get to be part of, this awesome wedding.
I got to meet a lot of your friends,
that's
cousins, true. And it's just a great experience.
Like
so
a couple of the guys from my wedding party, my best man and my twinnie.
Yeah, I got to meet your best man.
Yeah, they were there, and Evan definitely, obviously being one of my groomsmen as well. So it was like a lot of like clashing of worlds, because not only was with people from Ave, it was people from back home, because Evan married my friend from college, and so it was just like a clashing of worlds, but then also bringing you into it, it was like a meteorite. So,
Explosion.
yeah, I remember there was like one point where I may have been a little tipsy, but I was crying like a baby because I was like so emotional of the thought of like seeing, like looking to my left, seeing Garrick, looking to my right, and seeing my childhood group of friends that I grew up with, and then looking right beside me, like you being there. It was just like,
Oh, I didn't know that was one of the reasons.
that was the main. That's the reason why I
didn't
started
know
crying.
that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was just like, this is the
didn't
clashing of
know
worlds,
that.
and I'm just like,
I thought
just
you were
kept
crying because of
the first dance.
mother-son dance and the first dance and all that.
Well, I started that, but then I started. So it
So
started
later
there.
you were crying.
So it started there where I was
Yeah.
crying mother son, right? But then then I started analyzing the situation.
And I thought you were thinking about your own mother-son.
Well,
dance.
yeah, I always
yeah.
teary-eyed about that, and that's
Yeah.
what started the tears.
Aw.
And then it became the clashing of the worlds that made me cry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He did have a good cry that night, guys.
it was like
Oh boy, I remember like hugging you and I was like comforting you and you're just crying on my shoulder.
I was like crying.
Not the first time I've seen you cry away.
That's true. I cry at almost every wedding I'm at. I am a hardcore wedding crier. But that one was probably like.
I'm gonna be a mess on our wedding day.
I don't know. You better
We're
not
both
wear,
gonna be a mess.
waterproof mascara. But yeah, I think that was our best date / experience that we've had together. So
Yeah, I would agree. That was like a really good one. There's just so many dates we've been on,
right.
so it's hard to narrow it down right now. Very memorable one for me was our well, the first 3 dates were very memorable, but I would say the third date was just very memorable for me. We had like made it official at the end of the second date. And that was like a whole interesting story. And then the third date, it was like, okay, this brand new like relationship. Yeah. And it was just like really, we had so much good conversation and we were connecting so deeply. And it's just like, just, I don't know. It's just all the good, I don't know. It's just like a special date. And like, it'll always have a place in my heart. It's just like such a special date.
The doc, right? That was the doc. Right?
Yeah.
That was to explain too. Like, we kind of had this sense of trust in our relationship, like very early on, before we even met.
Yeah, because we talked a lot before actually meeting,
going on dates
in person.
Yeah, because we had originally met. So like, for some people, saying that we made it official after 2 dates might be like, what the heck? But just to clarify, we had like a long
for a while.
But it was a good amount of time, like, of conversing and talking before we actually went on a date. We kind of like had hints that we were kind of both interested in one another, but wasn't sure yet. And then officially made it, like went on a date and everything after your sister hooked us up with a like first meeting spot that was platonic. That's kind of where it solidified. I was like, okay, let's ask this girl on a date.
Let's ask this girl.
And now we're about to get married. But yeah.
Crazy.
So you think the third one was your favorite?
Yeah, that and then the trips. All of the weddings we've been to have just been a lot of fun.
Great.
So it's like, yeah.
Awesome. What a way to end it. Great.
Awesome.
Sorry, I was thinking about the next thing. I was like, oh, I guess we have to wrap this up now.
It's like he's not that impressed by my answer.
No, that's great. It was a good date. And I do remember that one very vividly as well. It was just really good. It was a nice sunset. We had dinner at Olive Garden, I think.
Carrabba's. Yeah.
One of the two. I think they're on the same parent company, right?
Probably.
Anyway, it was a good, like, we always had to meet halfway to go on dates after like the first date, but yeah, it was great.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that is all we have for today's episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed. We will, again, like I said before the break, we'll be doing more episodes like this where we get together and we do, podcast together once in a while. And if you want to send in questions about that, you can send it to us on Instagram, and we'll answer them. And if there's certain topics you guys want us to talk about, we'll do so. I don't know how often these will be, but they will be around. This is an option now for us. And so I want you guys to know that. Also, for those of you who don't know, this is kind of like, I haven't really announced it. I probably will announce it on social media soon, but we actually changed podcast hosting. We used to do Anchor, and you guys used to hear the Anchor ads in between the breaks. But now we switched over to Buzzsprout, which is another step up. You know, we're getting some slight revenue now that's enough to purchase. You know, Anchor was free, and it was nice because it was free, and it just didn't offer a lot of analytics. So I switched over to Buzzsprout, which offered a bit more analytics and more flexibility with your podcast. So now that's kind of like the route that we're going, that I'm going with the podcast, and so that means we're paying for Buzzsprout. So if you want to donate to help us, you know, pay for the monthly charges or anything that we do, like all the equipment that we pay, this $250 mic was off of what you guys help support the podcast. Just even through listening or donating. If you want to donate, you can go to the link in the description of the show notes or the link in the bio of it'll go through PayPal. If you have PayPal right now, that's the new way of doing it because of Buzzsprout. So it's a bit more secure and safe for those of you who don't trust other forms. Like, I don't have an affiliate. I mean, not affiliate. What's that place called? Everyone have Patreon. I don't have a Patreon, but we might officially start thinking about that soon. I just kind of thought about doing something like that eventually, but I don't know if I have the time to offer the extra content for those of you who would support us on Patreon, but we'll figure that out. But for now, if you want to donate, you can donate through the link in the bio, through PayPal. Okay. So all that, again, pays the monthly subscriptions that I use for certain things, programs, such as Buzzsprout, which is about $20 a month. So help pay for that. That's great. But we do have some revenue coming in from whether it be affiliate programs and stuff like that. Make sure if you want to buy stuff from our affiliates, they'll be down below. Right now, our active one, we're working a couple more, but our active one is with Be a Heart. If you wanted to buy anything from there and all their sales, use our affiliate link. Or if you want extra 10% off your purchase, if you want 10% off your purchase, use Ardently10, and all that 10% of your purchase goes to us and to the ministry. So all of that, again, gets poured back into it, to equipment, to all the gear, and all the stuff, all the subscriptions we pay for. So we appreciate your support, and if you would like to find out other ways that you can support the podcast, just send me an email, DM, whatever you want to do to communicate with us. Okay. Follow Living Ardently on Instagram at Living Ardently. Follow myself at It's Only Adrian, Sarah at Sarah Bees, and then send us an email at livingardentlypod@gmail.com. Check out our blog site, livingardently.wordpress.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, and follow us and subscribe anywhere else that you listen to the podcast. And I think that's it.
Woo! That's a lot.
I'm getting really good at this. Also, if you search out Living Ardently right now on Spotify, I think you'll see 2 Living Ardently podcasts. One of them is going to be through Anchor. The other is going to be on Buzzsprout. Just make sure you're subscribed to both. One of them is the Anchor one will eventually disappear, or they'll merge, I think. I don't know how it works, but podcasting is weird in that way. I recommend just going to Apple Podcasts if you have an iPhone, because it's just the easiest way to listen to podcasts on your phone. But if you want to just do it in one app, Spotify is fine too. So final thoughts, anything you would like to say to those who watched today?
Thanks to everyone who sent in questions. And everyone who wanted to see me back on the podcast. Hopefully I will get better at doing this.
Yeah.
And keep living ardently, guys. Peace.
I mean, she said it. Yo, so go out. Get out there. Yeah. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.